I stood in the parking lot outside the reception hall, my palms flat against the cool metal of my truck. The evening air smelled like freshly cut grass and expensive perfume drifting from the open doors behind me. Inside, 200 guests were celebrating my son's wedding. Outside, I was trying to remember how to breathe. The cake incident had happened 20 minutes ago. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. I'm Norg Koldr, 54 years old. I own 3 trout farms across the county. My hands are calloused, my boots are practical, and I've never pretended to be anything other than what I am. For 28 years, I raised Julian the best way I knew how. After the divorce, Jenna and I stayed civil, respectful even. We put our son first, always. But tonight, at his wedding to Tessa Harrington, I learned exactly what his new family thought of me. The reception hall was one of those places where everything gleamed. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths so crisp they looked like they'd cut you if you touched them wrong. Tessa's family had paid for everything. They made sure everyone knew it too. I'd arrived early, wore my best suit, the navy one I kept for occasions like this. Clean, pressed, appropriate. I thought I'd blend in just fine. I was wrong. The moment I walked through the garden ceremony area, I felt it. That particular kind of cold that has nothing to do with temperature. Tessa's mother, Barbara, gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her husband, Richard, shook my hand like he was handling something unpleasant. Tessa's sister, Claire, looked me up and down and then whispered something to her mother that made them both laugh. I ignored it. This was Julian's day. The ceremony was beautiful. My son looked happy standing at that altar, and that's what mattered. I stood in the back, didn't make a fuss, clapped when everyone else clapped. The reception started smooth enough. I found my table, not the family table, I noticed. I was seated with some distant cousins of Tessa's, people who spent the evening talking around me like I was a piece of furniture. I went to the lobby bar during the speeches, needed a moment away from the forced smiles. That's when I heard them. 3 of Tessa's relatives, standing near the coat check, drinks in hand. "Can you believe Julian's father showed up in that suit?" one of them said. "What did you expect? He smells like fish." "Tessa said he owned some farms or something. Fish farms. Can you imagine?" They laughed. Not cruel laughter, exactly. Worse. Dismissive. Like I was a joke too harmless to take seriously. I walked past them like I hadn't heard a thing. Got my water. Went back inside. Then came the cake cutting. Julian and Tessa stood behind a 4-tier masterpiece, all white fondant and sugar flowers. The photographer circled them, flash popping. Everyone gathered close, phones out, capturing the moment. I stood toward the back, staying out of the way. Tessa's father made a toast. Something about new beginnings and how proud he was to welcome Julian into their family. He didn't mention me once. The cake was cut. Slices were distributed on fine china plates. I watched the servers move through the crowd with clockwork precision. Then Claire approached me, carrying a plate. "Here you go," she said, her voice bright and artificial. "A special slice just for you." I looked down. The slice was smashed on one side, frosting smeared. It looked like someone had dropped it. "This fell on the floor," I said quietly. "Oh, I know." Claire's smile widened. "But we figured, you wouldn't mind. It's still good, right?" Behind her, Tessa watched. So did her mother. They were both smiling. I looked at Julian. He was laughing. Not meanly exactly, but laughing, like this was just a harmless prank. Like his father being handed floor cake at his own son's wedding was funny. The room felt very far away suddenly, like I was watching it through glass. "Thank you," I said. I took the plate, set it down on the nearest table, turned and walked toward the exit. I didn't run, didn't storm out, just walked. Behind me, I heard laughter, scattered, uncomfortable, but there. That's when my phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out in the parking lot, standing between 2 BMWs that probably cost more than my annual income. Unknown number, single message. "She's already near." I stared at those 3 words. My heart rate, which had started to slow, picked up again. I knew that number, or rather, I knew who it had to be. I typed back, "How close?" The response came immediately. 10 minutes out. Should I wait?" I looked back at the reception hall. Through the tall windows, I could see the party continuing. Music had started. People were dancing. Julian and Tessa were at the center, spinning under the lights. My phone buzzed again. This time, a voicemail notification. I lifted the phone to my ear. Static. Movement. Then, faint but unmistakable, the sound of a baby crying. Not just one baby. 2. I lowered the phone. My hand wasn't shaking. That surprised me. I thought it would be. I typed one more message. Not yet. I'll tell you when. Then I got in my truck and drove home. The drive back to my place took 40 minutes. I live on the property of my oldest farm, a 2-bedroom house that sits about 100 yards from the main processing building. It's quiet out here. The kind of quiet that used to bother Julian when he was young. He always wanted to be where things were happening, where people were. I guess he got his wish. I pulled into the driveway and sat in the truck for a few minutes, engine off, listening to the night sounds. Crickets. The distant hum of the water pumps, a dog barking somewhere down the road. My phone sat on the passenger seat, silent now. But those 3 words kept repeating in my head. She's already near. I'd known this was coming. Not the timing, maybe, but the fact of it. Jenna had told me 6 months ago. We'd met at a downtown cafe, neutral ground, the way we always did when we needed to discuss something serious. There's something you need to know, she'd said. Her hands were wrapped around a coffee cup, even though it was warm outside. About Julian. I'd waited. Jenna wasn't dramatic. If she said I needed to know something, I needed to know it. He's a father, she said. He just doesn't know it yet. The coffee shop had suddenly felt very small. She explained it carefully. Detailed. 2 years ago, Julian had dated a woman named Monica. Brief relationship, intense, but short. Monica got pregnant. By the time she realized it, Julian had already moved on. Started seeing Tessa. Monica didn't tell him. She had her reasons, Jenna said. Didn't want to disrupt his new life. Didn't want to be the complication. Twins, Jenna had said. Boys. They're almost 18 months now. Why are you telling me this? I'd asked. Because Monica reached out to me. She's struggling. She wants Julian to know, but she's scared. She asked me to help. And you said yes. I said I'd think about it. Jenna had looked at me then, really looked at me. But I needed to tell you first. You're his father. You deserve to know. We'd talked for 2 hours that day, worked through the implications, the timing, the fact that Julian was getting married to a woman who had very clear ideas about how her life was supposed to look. When were you planning to tell him? I'd asked. I don't know. Monica keeps changing her mind. She's terrified of Tessa's family. They have money, lawyers, influence. She's afraid they'll take the boys. Yes. I'd driven home that day with a weight in my chest that hadn't lifted since. Now, sitting in my truck outside my house, I realized that weight was about to shift. I got out, went inside. The house was exactly as I'd left it that morning. Clean, organized, nothing fancy. I stood in the kitchen, looking at the calendar hanging on the wall near the fridge. Today's date was circled twice in red marker. Wedding day. There was another date circled too, 2 weeks from now. Originally, that was supposed to be when Jenna would talk to Julian, tell him about his sons, give him a chance to process everything before Monica filed for child support. But things had changed. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to Jenna's number, typed, "What changed your mind? Why now?" Her response came within seconds. "Because I heard what they did to you tonight. Claire posted it. The cake video is on her Instagram." My jaw tightened. I hadn't even thought about phones recording. Of course they had. "And?" I typed. "And I'm done protecting people who don't deserve it. Monica's done too. We're both tired of watching you get treated like you're nothing." I set the phone down, walked to the window. Outside, the lights from the processing building cast long shadows across the yard. I'd built this business from scratch, started with one small pond and a dream that most people told me was stupid. Now I employed 15 people, supplied restaurants across 3 states, paid my taxes, lived honestly. But to Tessa's family, I was just the fish farmer, the embarrassment, the person you handed floor cake to because what was I going to do about it? My phone buzzed again. He deserves to know his children, and they deserve a father who isn't ashamed of where he comes from. I typed back, "When can you be ready?" "Tomorrow. There's a gathering at the church hall. Post-wedding brunch thing. Tessa's family is hosting. Monica and I can be there." "That's fast." "It's time, Norg. Past time." I looked at the calendar again, at my son's wedding date circled in red. "Okay," I typed. "Tomorrow." I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, watching shadows from the window blinds stretch across the plaster. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that cake plate, saw my son laughing, saw the way Tessa's mother had looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. Around 3 a.m, I gave up on sleep. Got up, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table. This table had history. Jenna and I had bought it at an estate sale when we first got married. Solid oak, sturdy, practical. Julian had done his homework here, built school projects here. We'd eaten 1,000 meals at this table, the three of us, back when we were still a complete family. Even after the divorce, Jenna and I had managed to keep things civil. We'd failed as husband and wife, but we'd succeeded as parents. Or at least, I thought we had. Somewhere along the way, Julian had started to drift. It was subtle at first. Fewer phone calls, shorter visits. Always busy with work, with Tessa, with wedding planning. I'd told myself it was natural. He was building his own life. That's what kids did. But looking back now, I could see the pattern. It started about a year ago. Right after Julian introduced us to Tessa for the first time. We'd met at a restaurant downtown, nothing too fancy, but nice enough. Tessa had been polite that night, charming even. Asked me about the fish farms, seemed genuinely interested. Then her parents showed up. They'd happened to be in the area, Tessa said. Total coincidence. The temperature at that table had dropped 20 degrees. Richard Harrington had shaken my hand with the grip of a man who wanted you to know he didn't have to impress you. Barbara had smiled and made small talk, but her eyes kept doing this thing. Quick glances at my clothes, my hands, the watch I was wearing. After that night, things changed. Julian started making excuses why I couldn't come to certain events. It's mostly Tessa's work people, Dad. You'd be bored. Or, it's a small venue, limited space, you understand? I'd understood, all right. The worst part was watching him change, not all at once, gradually, like he was being sanded down, reshaped into someone smoother, someone who fit better with Tessa's world. Last Christmas, Julian had suggested I skip the family photos at Tessa's parents' house. It's just, they're doing this whole formal thing, he'd said. Very staged. Professional photographer. I just thought you might feel out of place. I'd smiled. Said I understood. Spent Christmas Eve at home, alone, eating leftover turkey and watching old movies. Now, sitting in my kitchen at 3 a.m, I realized I'd been letting them erase me. One small cut at a time. 1,000 tiny paper slices, as the saying goes. But I wasn't gone yet. Around 6, I drove to the farm office. The sun was just coming up, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Beautiful morning, the kind that made you grateful to be alive. I unlocked the office, a small building next to the processing center. Inside, filing cabinets lined one wall, a desk sat in the corner, and a map of the 3 farm properties hung above it. I'd marked the map myself, noting water flow, feed schedules, harvest rotations. This was my world. Simple, honest, productive. I sat at the desk and pulled out a notebook. Started writing down dates, events, comments Tessa's family had made over the past year. Not because I needed evidence, I wasn't building a legal case. I just needed to see it all laid out, needed to confirm what my gut already knew. This hadn't been accidental. The disrespect, the exclusion, the floor cake, it was all part of a pattern. They'd decided I didn't belong in Julian's new life, and they'd been slowly, methodically pushing me out. The question was, had Julian noticed, or had he been too caught up in Tessa's world to see what was happening to his own father? My phone rang. Jenna. "Morning," I said. "Morning. You okay?" "Been better." "Monica's ready. We're meeting at her place at 10, then heading to the church hall together. The brunch starts at 11. "And the boys?" "They're coming with us. That's the point, Norg. Everyone needs to see them." I was quiet for a moment. This is going to destroy him. Finding out he's a father? Finding out like this, in front of everyone. Jenna's voice was firm. He stood there and watched his wife's sister hand you floor cake. He laughed, Norg. Your son laughed. Maybe he needs to be destroyed a little. Wake him up. She wasn't wrong. "What do you need from me?" I asked. "Just be there, that's all. Monica will do the talking. I'll back her up. You just stand witness?" "I can do that." "Good. See you at 11. She hung up. I sat in the quiet office, listening to the hum of the water pumps outside. Around 9, I drove to the church. Not the main hall where the brunch would be, but the parking garage underneath. I needed to see the space, needed to visualize how this was going to play out. The garage was empty except for a few early arrivals, catering vans, event staff setting up. I parked in a far corner and sat in my truck, watching them work. That's when I heard them. 2 women standing near a white SUV about 30 feet away. I recognized them from the wedding. Friends of Tessa's mother. "Thank God we won't have to see that fish farmer much longer," one of them said. "What do you mean?" "Tessa told Barbara that once the honeymoon is over, they're moving to Connecticut. Julian got some job offer there. Good riddance, right? That man is so awkward." Did you see him last night? Just standing there like he didn't know what to do with himself. And that cake thing, I nearly cried laughing. They got into the SUV and drove away, completely unaware I'd heard every word. I sat very still. Connecticut. Julian was moving to Connecticut, 3,000 miles away, and he hadn't mentioned a word of it to me. Something clicked inside me then. Not anger, exactly. More like clarity. The kind that comes when you finally stop making excuses for people and see the situation for what it really is. I pulled out my phone, typed a message to Jenna. Come now. I drove to Jenna's apartment on the west side of town. She lived in a modest complex, second floor, with a balcony overlooking a small courtyard. I'd been here a dozen times over the years. It was the kind of place that felt lived in, warm, the opposite of Tessa's world. Jenna opened the door before I could knock. She must have been watching for me. You okay? She asked. No. She stepped aside. Come in. The apartment was neat, decorated with photos of Julian from every stage of his life. Baby pictures, school photos, graduation. There was even one of the three of us from years ago, back when we were still married. We looked young, happy. Monica was sitting on the couch, a young woman with dark hair and tired eyes. She stood when I entered, uncertain. Mr. Koldr, she said. I'm Monica. Norg, I said. Please. She nodded. Sat back down. On the floor next to the couch was a double stroller. 2 infant seats, both occupied. I walked over slowly. The boys were asleep, maybe 18 months old, like Jenna had said. Dark hair, round faces. And there, unmistakably, was Julian. I could see my son in their features. The shape of their eyes. The way one of them had his fist curled near his mouth. My chest tightened. They're beautiful, I said. Monica's voice was soft. They look just like him. I turned to Jenna. Tell me everything. We sat. Monica explained it all again, more detail this time. How she and Julian had dated for about 4 months. How he'd broken it off gently when he met Tessa. How Monica had discovered she was pregnant a few weeks later. I tried to tell him, she said. I called him twice, but Tessa answered his phone both times. She told me Julian had moved on, that I needed to respect that. She knew? I asked. No, not then. She didn't know I was pregnant. She just knew I was calling him. Why didn't you try again? Monica looked down at her hands. Because by the 3rd week, I saw them together at a restaurant. They looked so happy, and I thought, maybe it's better this way. Maybe he'd feel trapped. Maybe Tessa would convince him I was trying to ruin his life. So you just carried the pregnancy alone? My mom helped, and Jenna, eventually. I reached out to her about 6 months ago. I'd found her on social media, realized she was Julian's mother. I thought maybe she could help me figure out the right way to tell him. Jenna picked up the story. I met with Monica, saw the boys. There was no question they were Julian's. So I've been helping her financially, making sure she has what she needs, buying time to figure out how to break the news. And then last night happened, I said. And then last night happened, Jenna agreed. Claire posted that video. You, standing there, holding that plate. The caption said, when the in-laws don't quite fit the aesthetic. My jaw clenched. That's when Monica called me, Jenna continued. She'd seen it too, and she said she was done protecting Julian from the truth. If his new family thought they could treat people like that, then they needed to see what real family looks like. I looked at Monica. You're sure about this? About doing it publicly? She met my eyes. Mr. Koldr, Norg, I've been raising your grandsons alone for over a year. I've been up at 3 a.m. with 2 crying babies. I've skipped meals to afford diapers. I've worked double shifts and still barely made rent some months. And your son? He's been planning a destination honeymoon with a woman who thinks people like us are beneath her. Her voice didn't rise, didn't break, but the steel in it was unmistakable. So yes, she said, I'm sure. One of the boys stirred in the stroller, made a small sound. Monica reached down, adjusted his blanket. The motion was automatic, practiced. The motion of someone who'd been doing this for months with no help. The brunch starts at 11, Jenna said. We should leave by 10:30. Give ourselves time. I checked my watch. It was almost 10. I need to make a stop first, I said. At the farm. Won't take long. Jenna nodded. We'll meet you there, at the church. What are you getting from the farm? Monica asked. I stood. Nothing. I just need to see it. Remind myself who I am. I drove back to the farm. Not the office this time, but the processing building. I parked outside and walked in. The smell hit me immediately. Fresh water, clean fish, the sharp tang of ice. 2 of my workers were there, prepping for the day's shipment. "Boss," one of them said. "Didn't expect you in today. Thought you'd be celebrating." "I just needed to check something," I said. I walked through the building slowly, past the holding tanks, past the processing stations, past the packaging area. Every piece of equipment here I'd either bought or built myself. Every system I'd designed. This was honest work. Hard work. Work that fed families. Mine and 15 others. There was nothing shameful about it. I stood there for a few minutes, letting the sounds wash over me. The water flowing, the equipment humming, the rhythm of a business that worked. Then I got back in my truck and headed to the church. The church complex was impressive. Modern architecture, all glass and steel and carefully maintained landscaping. The main building housed the sanctuary, but there was a separate events hall connected by a covered walkway. That's where the brunch was being held. I parked in the outdoor courtyard, a wide open space with decorative trees and stone benches. A few other cars were already there. BMWs, Mercedes, 1 Tesla. I recognized most of them from last night. Tessa's family was here early, of course, taking command of the space, making sure everything was perfect. I sat in my truck and watched them through the windshield. Richard Harrington stood near the entrance, greeting guests as they arrived. Barbara was inside, visible through the glass doors, directing staff. Claire was on her phone, probably posting more pictures for everyone to see. Julian's car pulled up. He got out with Tessa. She was wearing a designer dress, pale blue, probably cost more than my mortgage payment. Julian wore slacks and a button-down, looking every inch the successful young professional. They looked good together. I had to admit that. They looked like they belonged in a magazine spread about successful couples. Julian didn't look around for me, didn't seem to wonder if I'd show up. Maybe he hoped I wouldn't. My phone buzzed. "Jenna, we're 5 minutes out. Are you there?" "I'm here," I typed back. "Okay, we're coming in." I got out of the truck, walked slowly toward the entrance. Richard saw me and his expression flickered. Surprise, then something like annoyance, then back to his practiced smile. "Norg," he said. "Didn't expect to see you today. Thought you might be tired after last night." The subtext was clear. Thought you'd have the sense to stay away. "Wouldn't miss it," I said. I walked past him into the hall. The space was elegant. Round tables covered in white cloths, each one with a centerpiece of fresh flowers. A buffet along one wall, serving stations with staff in crisp uniforms. Soft music playing from hidden speakers. Maybe 60 people were already here. Tessa's family, their friends, a handful of Julian's colleagues. Everyone dressed well, talking in those low, cultured voices that suggested refinement and wealth. I found a spot near the back. Not hiding exactly, just observing. Julian was at the center of it all, accepting congratulations, smiling, playing the part of happy newlywed. Tessa stayed close to him, her hand on his arm, her laugh bright and practiced. Barbara approached me. "Norg, good morning." "Barbara, there's coffee at the buffet. Help yourself." "I'm fine." She smiled, patted my arm. The gesture was meant to be kind, but it felt patronizing, like she was humoring me. "Well, do let us know if you need anything," she said, and drifted away. I checked my phone. 10:58, 2 minutes. The doors opened. A woman entered, pushing a double stroller. Monica. Behind her, Jenna. The hall didn't go silent immediately. It took a few seconds. People noticed gradually. First the ones near the door, then spreading outward like ripples. Monica moved into the room with surprising confidence. She was dressed simply, jeans, a nice blouse, but she walked like she had every right to be there. The stroller was the kind designed for twins. 2 seats, side by side. The boys were awake now, looking around with wide eyes. Jenna stayed close to Monica, her presence a clear statement of support. They walked toward the center of the room. Barbara saw them first. Her expression went from confusion to alarm in the space of a heartbeat. She moved quickly, intercepting them before they could get too close to Julian. "Excuse me," Barbara said, her voice loud enough to carry. "This is a private event. I'm afraid you'll need to leave." Monica stopped, looked Barbara right in the eye. "I'm not leaving," she said. Her voice was steady, clear. "Not until Julian sees his sons." The room went absolutely silent then. Julian, who'd been talking to someone across the room, turned, looked at Monica. His face went blank. Tessa moved immediately, stepping between Julian and Monica like a barrier. "Who are you?" Tessa demanded. "My name is Monica," she said. "I dated Julian 2 years ago." So? Tessa's voice was sharp. That's irrelevant. You need to leave. Now. Monica didn't move. These are his children, twins, 18 months old. He deserves to know them. The statement landed like a physical thing. You could feel it hit the crowd. People's heads turned, phones came out, cameras pointed. Julian stood frozen. His face had gone white. That's impossible, Tessa said, but her voice had lost some of its edge. She was looking at the stroller now, at the boys. Monica reached down, unfastened one of the harnesses, lifted one of the boys out, held him on her hip. The resemblance was undeniable. He had Julian's eyes, Julian's nose, Julian's hair color. Someone in the crowd gasped. "This is Eli," Monica said, "and his brother in the stroller is Mason. Your grandsons," she said, looking at Barbara and Richard. "Your nephews," she said to Claire. Barbara's mouth opened, closed. No sound came out. Richard stepped forward. "This is outrageous. You can't just barge in here making wild claims." "They're not wild," Jenna said, speaking for the first time. She moved to stand beside Monica. "I'm Julian's mother. I've known about the boys for 6 months. I've verified everything. These are Julian's sons." Julian finally found his voice. "Mom?" "Yes, Julian. It's true. You're a father." The crowd was buzzing now, whispers spreading like wildfire. I saw several people recording, their phones held high. Tessa grabbed Julian's arm. "Don't listen to them. They're clearly insane. We'll call security." "Look at him," Monica said quietly. She was still holding Eli, and the boy was looking around curiously at all the faces. "Just look at him, Julian. You'll know." Julian took a step forward, then another. Tessa tried to hold him back, but he shook her off gently. He approached Monica, looked at the boy in her arms. I watched my son's face change, watched recognition dawn, watched his entire world shift on its axis. "How?" he whispered. "I tried to tell you," Monica said. 2 years ago. But Tessa answered your phone, told me to stop calling. So I did. I thought maybe it was better that way, that I'd be ruining your life." "You tried to tell me," Julian repeated. His voice was hollow. "Yes." He looked at the stroller, at Mason, still strapped in, watching everything with wide eyes. "Can I?" Julian's voice broke. "Can I hold him?" Monica hesitated, then nodded. "Eli or Mason?" "Mason." She moved to the stroller, lifted Mason out. Julian's hands shook as he took his son for the first time. The boy looked at him with solemn curiosity, reached up, touched Julian's face. Julian made a sound, not quite a sob, not quite a laugh. "He looks just like—" Julian couldn't finish. "Like you," Monica said. "They both do." Around us, the crowd was in chaos, people talking over each other. Barbara was sitting now, in a chair someone had pulled up for her. She looked like she'd been hit by a truck. Richard was on his phone, probably calling a lawyer. Claire had her hand over her mouth, staring, and Tessa. Tessa looked at Julian holding Mason, looked at Monica, looked at the crowd recording everything. "This is a setup," she said. Her voice was loud, desperate. "This is all fake. Some kind of scam." "It's not fake," Jenna said. She pulled out her phone. "I have birth certificates, DNA test results, hospital records, everything you'd need to verify." "You did DNA tests?" Julian asked, still holding Mason, not looking away from his son's face. "Yes, I had them done 3 months ago. There's no question, Julian. These are your boys." Julian looked at me then. Finally. Met my eyes across the room. I'd been standing there the whole time, silent, watching. "Dad," he said. "Did you know?" "For 6 months," I said. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because it wasn't my place. This was between you and Monica. Between you and your mother. I was just waiting." "Waiting for what?" I looked at Tessa, at her family, at the crowd of people who'd laughed last night when I was handed floor cake. "Waiting for you to see," I said. "Really see. What matters and what doesn't." Julian stood in the center of the hall, holding Mason like the boy was made of glass. The room had fractured into clusters of shocked conversations. Some people were leaving, others were recording. A few were just staring, mouths open. Tessa's face had gone through several expressions in the last 60 seconds. Shock, denial, rage. Now it settled into something colder. Calculation. "Put the baby down," she said to Julian. He didn't move. "Julian, put the baby down." "No." The single word hung in the air. Tessa's eyes flashed. "We need to talk. Privately. Now." "No," Julian said again. He looked at Monica. How long have they been walking? About 2 months, Monica said softly. Eli took his first steps just before Christmas. Mason followed a week later. I missed it. Julian's voice cracked. I missed their first steps, their first words, all of it. You didn't know, Monica said. I should have tried harder. I should have answered my phone. Julian finally looked at Tessa. You told Monica to stop calling me? I didn't know she was pregnant. But you knew someone was trying to reach me, and you told them to stop. Because we'd just started dating. I wasn't going to let some ex-girlfriend interfere. She wasn't trying to interfere. She was trying to tell me I was going to be a father. Tessa's mouth snapped shut. Barbara had recovered enough to stand. She approached Julian, her voice low and urgent. Julian, think about what you're doing. Think about your future, your reputation. You can't just... Can't just what? Julian looked at her. Can't just acknowledge my own children? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Barbara? The use of her first name, without the courtesy title, made her flinch. Richard joined his wife. Son, let's all take a breath here. This is clearly a complicated situation. We should involve lawyers. Get proper verification. There's already been verification, Jenna said. She held up her phone. I can email you the DNA results right now if you'd like. Tests can be faked, Claire said from across the room. Look at him, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried. Everyone turned. Look at that boy and tell me he's not Julian's son. Look at his face and tell me those tests are fake. Claire looked. Everyone looked. Mason had wrapped his small hand around Julian's finger, was watching his father with those unmistakable eyes. No one said anything. Julian crouched down slowly, carefully, still holding Mason. Monica, he said, can you put Eli on the floor? I want to see them together. Monica set Eli down. The boy toddled over to his brother, grabbing onto Julian's leg for balance. 2 little boys. Mirror images, both with Julian's features stamped clearly across their faces. Julian's shoulders started shaking. He was crying, silently but unmistakably. I'm sorry, Monica said. I know this isn't how you wanted to find out. I know it's terrible timing. Don't apologize. Julian looked up at her, tears on his face. You've been raising them alone, while I was here, planning a wedding, going to parties, acting like... He didn't finish. Didn't need to. Tessa's expression had shifted again. Now there was something almost pitying in it, like she was watching someone fail a test she'd always known they'd fail. Julian, she said, we can work through this. We can hire the best lawyers, figure out custody arrangements, support payments, all of it. But you need to think clearly. Don't make decisions in the heat of the moment. The heat of the moment, Julian repeated. He stood up, Mason still on his hip, Eli clinging to his leg. My sons have been alive for 18 months. That's not a moment, Tessa. That's a 1.5 years. You didn't know? Because no one told me. Because the woman I was dating made it impossible for their mother to reach me. Because I was so wrapped up in this... He gestured around the room at the elegant decorations, the expensive flowers, the whole carefully constructed performance, that I didn't even notice what I was losing. What you were losing. Tessa's voice rose. We're married, Julian. We made vows. Yesterday. 24 hours ago. I know. So what are you saying? Julian looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw something happen in my son's face. A door closing, a light going out. I'm saying, he said slowly, that I don't know who I am anymore. I'm saying that yesterday I married a woman whose family handed my father floor cake as a joke. I'm saying I laughed at that. I stood there and laughed while they humiliated the man who raised me. It was just a prank. It wasn't a prank. It was cruelty. And I participated in it because I was so desperate to fit into your world that I forgot where I came from. He looked at me. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I nodded, didn't trust myself to speak. Julian turned back to Tessa. I need time. I need to figure out who I am, who I want to be, and I need to get to know my sons. And our marriage? I don't know. Tessa's face went hard. You're making a huge mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Barbara stepped forward again. Julian, if you walk away from this marriage now, there will be consequences. Legal consequences. Or financial consequences. I'm not walking away. I'm asking for space. There's a difference. Is there? Richard's voice was cold. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're choosing some woman and her convenient sob story over your wife. Those are my children, Julian said. The steel in his voice surprised everyone, including me. They're not a sob story. They're human beings. My sons, your grandsons. And if you can't see that, if all you see is inconvenience and scandal, then maybe I don't belong in your family after all. The room erupted, people talking at once. Tessa's family closing ranks, friends and relatives taking sides. I stayed where I was, watching, waiting. Jenna caught my eye across the room, nodded slightly. This was it. The moment everything changed. Julian set Mason down gently, made sure both boys were stable. Then he walked over to me. Dad, he said, I need your help. With what? With everything. Learning how to be a father, making this right, all of it. I looked at my son, 28 years old, standing in the wreckage of the life he'd built, looking lost and found at the same time. Okay, I said. Yeah? Yeah. He hugged me then. First time in over a year. A real hug, not the brief, awkward thing we'd been doing at holidays. I'm sorry about the cake, he whispered. I'm sorry about all of it. I know. Behind us, Monica had picked up both boys again. They were starting to fuss, overwhelmed by all the noise and commotion. We should go, Jenna said. Give these boys somewhere quiet. Julian nodded. Looked at Tessa one more time. I'll call you. Tomorrow. We'll talk. Don't bother, Tessa said. Her voice was ice. My lawyer will be in touch. Fine. We left. All of us. Monica pushing the empty stroller, Jenna carrying Eli, a Julian carrying Mason, me walking beside them. Behind us, the brunch dissolved into chaos. But that wasn't my concern anymore. Outside, in the courtyard, the morning sun was bright and warm. Julian stood blinking in it like he'd just woken up. What do I do now? He asked. Now? Monica said. Now you be their father. I don't know how. None of us did at first, I said. You learn as you go. Mason reached for Julian's face again, patted his cheek. Dada, the boy said. Julian's eyes filled. Did he just... He's been saying it for 2 weeks, Monica said. I showed him pictures, your social media. I wanted him to know his father's face, even if you didn't know his. Thank you, Julian said, for not giving up on me. I didn't do it for you, Monica said quietly. I did it for them. They deserve a father. Whether you deserve to be one is something you'll have to prove. Fair enough. We stood there in the sunlight. An unlikely group, a fish farmer, 2 ex-spouses, a young mother, a confused new father, 2 baby boys, and somehow, standing there, it felt more like family than anything I'd experienced in Tessa's world. We drove in convoy to Monica's apartment. She lived in a small complex on the east side, the kind of place where young families and single parents made it work on tight budgets. 2 bedrooms, Monica said. 1 for her, 1 for the boys. The apartment was small but spotlessly clean. Toys in organized bins, a playmat on the floor, pictures on the walls, mostly of the twins but a few others. I recognized some. Monica's mother, who'd apparently helped during the pregnancy, a few friends, and there, on the refrigerator, a printed photo of Julian from his social media. He looked younger in it, happier. This is where they live, Julian said. He was standing in the middle of the small living room, looking around like he'd entered another dimension. This is where my sons have been growing up. It's not much, Monica said. She was on the floor now, changing Mason's diaper with practiced efficiency. But it's clean, safe. They have what they need. You did this alone. Not entirely alone. My mom helped when she could. And Jenna, these last few months. Julian looked at his mother. Jenna had made herself at home in Monica's kitchen, putting on a pot of coffee without being asked. How did you find out? Julian asked her. Monica reached out to me, Jenna said. About 6 months ago. She'd seen my name on some of your social media posts, did some digging, found my contact information. And you just believed her? I saw the boys. Yes, I believed her. Then I arranged for DNA testing just to be absolutely certain. The results came back 3 months ago. No question. Those are your sons. Julian sat down heavily on the couch. Eli immediately climbed up beside him, curious about this new person in his space. Why didn't you tell me right away? Julian asked. Jenna poured coffee, brought 2 mugs to the living room, handed one to Julian. Because Monica wasn't ready. She was terrified, Julian. Terrified that you'd reject the boys, terrified that Tessa's family would use their money and connections to take them away from her, terrified that telling you would destroy your life. So she just kept them secret. She tried to tell you, I said. 2 years ago, remember? Julian frowned. The calls. What calls? Monica asked. After we broke up, Julian said slowly. Someone kept calling my phone, 3, maybe 4 times. Tessa said they didn't leave messages, said it was probably a wrong number. I left messages, Monica said, 2 of them, telling you to call me back, that it was important. Julian closed his eyes. She deleted them. You don't know that, Jenna said, but her tone suggested otherwise. Yes, I do. She was protective, possessive. I thought it was sweet at the time. Now I realize she was controlling. He looked at Monica. I'm sorry. I should have answered, should have checked. You didn't know. That's not an excuse. Eli had discovered Julian's watch, was trying to pull it off his wrist, fascinated by the shiny metal. He likes watches, Monica said, and phones, anything that reflects light. What else do they like? Monica smiled. It was the first real smile I'd seen from her. Eli likes music, bounces whenever he hears it. Mason's more serious, likes to study things, figures out how toys work before he plays with them. They're different personalities already. Completely different. It's amazing how individual they are, even as twins. Julian was watching Eli with complete fascination. The boy had given up on the watch and was now exploring Julian's face with small, curious hands. What do I do? Julian asked. How do I make up for 18 months? You don't, Monica said simply. You can't, but you can be here for the next 18 months, and the 18 after that, and all the rest. I want to. I want to be their father. Then prove it. Show up. Be consistent. Don't make promises you can't keep. Okay. And we need to talk about logistics, support, custody, all the practical things. Whatever you need, whatever they need. Monica looked at him carefully. You say that now. But what about when Tessa's lawyers get involved? What about when this gets complicated and expensive and messy? I meant what I said at the brunch. These are my sons. Nothing is more important than that. Not even your marriage? Julian was quiet for a moment. I don't know if I have a marriage anymore. After today, I don't know if Tessa will even want to try. And if she does? If she agrees to work through this? Then we work through it. But the boys come first. Always. Jenna had been listening from the kitchen. Now she joined us, sitting in a chair across from the couch. There's something else you should know, she said to Julian. About yesterday, about the wedding. Julian looked up. What about it? She pulled out her phone, pulled up Claire's Instagram, handed it to him. I watched my son's face as he scrolled through the posts, saw him stop on the video. The one of me holding the cake plate, saw him read the caption. His jaw tightened. When the in-laws don't quite fit the aesthetic, he read aloud. 17,000 likes. Jesus. Keep scrolling, Jenna said. There were more. Pictures of me standing alone. Pictures of me in my suit with snarky comments about trying. A whole thread making fun of the fish farmer who didn't belong. Julian's hands were shaking. I didn't know. I didn't see these. Because you were too busy being the perfect groom, I said. Not accusatory, just factual. I laughed, Julian said. When they handed you that cake, I actually laughed. I know. How can you not hate me? Because you're my son, and because today you chose right. Better late than never. Julian looked at the boys, at Eli still playing with his face, at Mason now crawling around on the floor, exploring. I'm choosing them, he said. From now on, I'm choosing my family, my real family. We stayed at Monica's apartment for 3 hours. Julian held both boys, fed them lunch. Monica showed him how. Changed diapers, badly, but he tried. Asked 1,000 questions. What time do they sleep? What do they eat? What makes them laugh? What scares them? Do they have favorite toys? Favorite songs? Monica answered everything patiently. I could see her warming to him, cautiously but warming nonetheless. Around 2 in the afternoon, Julian's phone started ringing. Tessa. He declined the call. It rang again, declined again. Then text messages started coming through, dozens of them. He finally turned the phone off. I'll deal with it tomorrow, he said. Today is about them. Jenna left around 3. She hugged Julian at the door. I'm proud of you, she said. Today was hard, but you did the right thing. You should have told me sooner, Mom. I know, but I was trying to protect everyone. You, Monica, the boys. Sometimes protection looks like silence. I'm learning that was wrong. We're all learning, Julian said. After Jenna left, Monica suggested we take the boys to the park down the street. Fresh air, she said. Burn off some energy before dinner. So we went, an unlikely group. Julian pushed the stroller. Monica walked beside him. I followed a few steps behind, watching. The park was busy with families, kids on swings, teenagers on basketball courts, parents sitting on benches while toddlers played. Monica spread a blanket under a tree, set the boys down. They immediately started crawling toward the grass, fascinated by the texture. Julian sat on the blanket, watching them explore. They're amazing, he said. They are, Monica agreed. I missed so much. Yes, I'm sorry. You've said that several times today. I'll probably say it 1,000 more times. Monica looked at him. Words are easy, Julian. Actions are what matter. I know. Do you? Because right now, you're in shock. You're overwhelmed, you're feeling guilty and emotional. But tomorrow, next week, when the reality sets in, when it's 3 a.m. and they're both screaming and you're exhausted, when it interferes with your plans, when it costs money and time and energy, will you still be here? Yes. How do I believe that? Julian was quiet for a moment. You can't. Not yet. I have to earn your trust. I understand that. Mason had found a dandelion, was trying to pick it with his small fingers. Julian watched him, a smile playing at his lips. I want to be in their lives, he said, completely, not just weekends and holidays. I want to be their father. That's going to complicate things with Tessa. I know. She's not going to make this easy. I know that too. Monica pulled her knees to her chest. Her family has money, influence. If they want to make your life difficult, they can. Let them. You say that now? Monica. Julian looked at her. I stood in that hall today and watched my father accept floor cake because my new in-laws thought it was funny. I watched them humiliate a man who spent his whole life working honestly, raising me, being decent, and I laughed. I was so desperate to fit into their world that I forgot where I came from, forgot what actually matters. He gestured to the boys. This matters. They matter. More than money, more than image, more than Tessa's family's opinion of me. And Tessa herself? Julian sighed. I don't know. I care about her. Part of me loves her, but I don't know if that's enough anymore. I don't know if we want the same things, or if we ever did. Eli had crawled over to me, was pulling on my pant leg, trying to stand up. I reached down, picked him up. He studied my face with serious eyes. Hi there, I said. He patted my cheek. Bah! He's trying to say Papa, Monica said. That's what I taught them to call their grandfather. I showed them your pictures too, she said to me, from Julian's social media. I wanted them to know both of you, even if we never met them, she didn't say. I held Eli carefully. He was solid, real, alive, my grandson. I'm sorry you had to do this alone, I said to Monica. You didn't know either. I should have. I should have noticed Julian pulling away, should have asked more questions, should have fought harder to stay in his life. That's not on you. That's on him. Maybe, but I let it happen. Let them push me out because it seemed easier than fighting. I told myself it was what Julian wanted, but really, I was just tired of feeling unwelcome. Julian had been listening. Dad, it's okay, I said. Today we fix it. All of it. Mason had found a stick, was waving it around like a wand. Julian watched him, smiling. They're perfect, he said. They're exhausting, Monica corrected. Perfect and exhausting. I want to help, with everything, money, time, whatever you need. We'll figure it out. Set up a proper custody schedule, child support, all the legal stuff. Do we need lawyers for that? Probably, just to make sure everything's documented. Protected, for their sake. Julian nodded. Okay, whatever you think is best. They sat there, watching the boys play, working through the logistics of shared parenting. I held Eli and wondered how different things might have been if Monica had been able to reach Julian 2 years ago. But there was no point in wondering. We were here now. This was the situation. All we could do was move forward. Around 5, Monica said it was time to head back. Dinner and bath time for the boys. Routine was important, she said. We walked back to the apartment. Julian carried Mason this time. The boy had fallen asleep against his shoulder. He's heavy, Julian said, but he was smiling. At Monica's door, Julian hesitated. Can I come back tomorrow? To see them? Yes, Monica considered. Morning or afternoon? Whenever works for you. Morning, then, around 9. We can have breakfast. I'll be here. He handed Mason to Monica carefully, trying not to wake him. Then he crouched down, looked at Eli. "See you tomorrow, buddy," he said softly. Eli waved, a small, uncoordinated gesture that made Julian's eyes shine. Julian and I drove back separately. I stopped at the farm first. Needed to check on things, make sure the overnight crew had what they needed. The processing building was quiet. Sunday evening, skeleton crew, everything running smooth. I stood in my office and looked at that calendar again. Wedding date circled in red. Today's date, the brunch, had been circled too, in a different color. That had been Jenna's doing. A reminder of when she was planning to tell Julian the truth. Turned out the timing had been perfect. Unintentionally so, but perfect nonetheless. My phone rang. Julian. "Dad? Where are you?" "At the farm. Why? Can I come over? To your place?" "Of course." "Be there in 20 minutes. He showed up in 30. Parked his car next to my truck. Got out slowly like he was carrying something heavy. Inside, I made coffee. We sat at the kitchen table, the one with history. "I turned my phone back on," Julian said. 43 missed calls, most from Tessa, some from her parents, a few from the lawyer her dad uses. They're moving fast. "Yeah, I listened to one voicemail from Tessa. He paused. "She's hurt, angry. Says I humiliated her in front of everyone. Says I chose strangers over my wife." "Those boys aren't strangers." "I know, but to her they might as well be. Her whole world is about image, control, everything in its place. And today I threw chaos right into the center of her perfect life." "You think she'll file for divorce?" "Maybe. I don't know. Part of me hopes she does. Is that terrible?" "It's honest." Julian wrapped his hands around the coffee mug. "When did I become this person, Dad? When did I start caring more about appearances than reality? When did I turn into someone who laughs when you get handed floor cake?" "Gradually. It happens gradually. You make small compromises. Tell yourself they don't matter, that you're being flexible, sophisticated, and then one day you wake up and realize you don't recognize yourself anymore." "That's exactly how it feels?" We sat in silence for a moment. The house was quiet. Just the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of water pumps from the farm. "I'm moving back," Julian said suddenly. "Back where?" "Here, to this area. I told Tessa's family I'd take that job in Connecticut, but I'm not going. I'm staying here, near the boys, near you." "What about your current job?" "I'll figure something out. Maybe they'll let me stay on. If not, I'll find something else. But I'm not leaving. I'm not missing any more of my son's lives." I nodded. "That's good. That's the right choice." "Tessa's going to lose it when I tell her. Probably. Her family's going to make things difficult. Let them." Julian looked at me. "You really mean that, don't you? You're not afraid of them." "I've spent a year being afraid of them. Afraid of saying the wrong thing, wearing the wrong clothes, not fitting in. And for what? So they'd accept me? They were never going to accept me, Julian. To them, I'll always be the fish farmer, the embarrassment, the person who doesn't belong. I'm sorry I let them treat you that way. I let them treat me that way too. I could have left, could have refused to attend events where I wasn't welcome, but I stayed because I didn't want to lose you. Turns out I was losing you anyway, slowly, one awkward dinner at a time." Julian's eyes were red. "I don't deserve you." "You're my son. Deserve doesn't enter into it. How do I fix this? All of it?" "You already started. Today. At that brunch. You chose your boys over Tessa's family's comfort. That's a good first step. What's the second step? Keep showing up. For Monica. For the boys. Be consistent. Reliable. Prove that today wasn't just emotional drama. Prove it's real. And Tessa? That's between you and her. You need to figure out if there's something there worth saving, if you even want to try." Julian stared into his coffee. "I don't know if I do. Is that awful? We've been married for 2 days, and I'm already thinking about ending it." "You're thinking about it because today you saw who she really is, who her family really is, and you're realizing that maybe it's not what you want. They're going to destroy me in court, her family. They'll hire the best lawyers. Make me look terrible. Maybe, but you have something they don't. What? The truth? Those boys exist. They're yours. You didn't know about them, but now you do. And you're stepping up. Any judge will see that. Any reasonable person will see that." Julian finished his coffee. Set the mug down. "I'm scared, Dad." "I know. I'm scared I'll mess this up, that I'll be a bad father, that I'm already too late. You're not too late, and you'll mess up sometimes. We all do. But you'll also get things right. You'll learn. They'll teach you. How? By existing. By needing you. By being themselves. Kids are excellent teachers if you pay attention. Julian smiled slightly. When did you get so wise? About 30 years of practice. He stood up, stretched. I should go. Got a lot to deal with tomorrow. Where are you staying? Hotel, I guess. Can't go back to Tessa's family's place. That's where we've been living while we looked for a house. Stay here. What? Stay here, tonight. I've got a spare room. Not fancy, but it's clean. Julian looked around the kitchen, at the table where he used to do homework, at the doorway where his height had been marked on the wall every birthday, at the home he grew up in. Yeah, he said. Okay, thanks, Dad. The next morning, Julian was up before me. I found him in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone, drinking coffee. Morning, I said. Morning, I've got 17 new messages since last night. Tessa? And her lawyer. They want to meet, today, discuss the situation. You going? I should. Need to face it eventually. Want me to come? Julian looked up, surprised. You'd do that. You're my son. Course I would. Thanks, but I think I need to handle this one myself. He finished his coffee, stood up. I'm meeting Monica at 9, then I'll deal with Tessa's lawyer. Then, I don't know, figure out the rest of my life, I guess. One step at a time. Right. He grabbed his jacket, hesitated at the door. Dad? Yesterday, at the brunch, when you just stood there watching everything unfold. You knew, didn't you? You knew this was going to happen. I knew something was coming, didn't know exactly what. And you didn't warn me. Would you have listened? Julian considered. Probably not. Sometimes people need to see things for themselves, need to feel the impact. Words aren't enough. You let me crash. I let you make a choice. There's a difference. Julian nodded slowly. Thank you for letting me find my own way back. He left. I spent the morning at the farm, catching up on work. Around noon, Jenna called. How's he doing? She asked. Scared, determined, growing up fast. That's good. Monica called me this morning. Said Julian showed up right at 9, brought breakfast, played with the boys for 2 hours, cried twice. Sounds about right. This is going to work out, Jenna said. I can feel it. Maybe. Long road ahead, though. But we're all walking it together. That's what matters. She was right. Around 3 in the afternoon, Julian texted. Meeting with lawyer went about as expected. Tessa wants divorce. Fast. Clean. They're offering settlement if I don't contest. I called him. You okay? Yeah. Honestly, it's a relief. She doesn't want to work through it. Neither do I. We both know it. What about the settlement? Taking it. Not worth fighting. I just want to move forward. Focus on the boys. Smart? One more thing. Tessa's parents want me out of their house by Friday. Can I stay with you for a while? Just until I find a place? Course you can. Stay as long as you need. Thanks, Dad. That evening, Julian came back to the house. We ate dinner together. Nothing fancy, just burgers on the grill. Sat on the back porch and watched the sun set over the fish ponds. I'm going to see the boys every day this week, Julian said. Monica and I are working out a schedule, figuring out how to co-parent. It's complicated, but we'll manage. That's good. And I'm keeping my job. Told them I'm not moving to Connecticut. They're letting me stay on. Work remotely when needed. Even better. Julian was quiet for a moment. Then, I've been thinking about yesterday, about the brunch, about Tessa's family's faces when they saw the boys. And I realized something. They spent a year making you feel small, making you feel unwelcome, treating you like you weren't good enough for their family, and in one moment, with just the truth, you showed them exactly who they really are. I didn't do anything. Monica did. Jenna did. The boys just existed. But you knew. You knew it was coming, and you let it happen. You could have warned them, could have given them time to prepare, control the narrative, but you didn't. No, I didn't. Why? I looked at my son. Because sometimes people need to see who they really are, when there's no time to put on a mask, no time to spin the story. Just raw truth, right there in front of everyone. Julian smiled, a real smile, the first genuine one I'd seen from him in over a year. They looked so shocked, he said, so completely blindsided. Barbara's face, Richard's, Tessa's, like their whole world was ending. It was. The world they'd built, the image they'd crafted, it all shattered in about 30 seconds. Good. Julian's voice was firm, certain. They earned it. Every second of that embarrassment, every phone that recorded it, every person who watched them scramble. You're not sorry? Are you kidding? I'm glad. I'm glad everyone saw it. Glad there's video evidence. Glad their perfect image is destroyed. He looked at me. Does that make me a bad person? Makes you human. I should feel guilty about humiliating Tessa like that, about destroying her family's reputation, but I don't. All I feel is free. Then you made the right choice. We sat in comfortable silence, watching darkness settle over the farm. The lights from the processing building clicked on automatically, everything running smooth, everything in its place. I'm going to be a good father, Julian said. I'm going to show up, be present, love those boys the way you loved me, the way you still love me, even after I was such a disappointment. You were never a disappointment. I laughed when they gave you floor cake, Dad. And today you chose your sons over social approval. One mistake doesn't erase all the good, and choosing right, even late, counts for something. Julian stood up, stretched. I'm meeting Monica tomorrow morning, early. We're taking the boys to the pediatrician. First appointment I'll actually attend. That's good. And Dad? Thank you for not giving up on me, for waiting, for letting me find my way back. That's what fathers do. He went inside. I stayed on the porch a while longer, thinking about the last 2 days, about floor cake and double strollers, about truth landing like a bomb in a fancy hall, about my son's face when he held his children for the first time, about revenge that wasn't revenge at all. Just reality, just truth, just 2 little boys who looked exactly like their father, showing up at exactly the right moment. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting people see what's real. No manipulation, no scheme, just opening a door and letting the light in,